Welcome back to the worst channel on all of YouTube. I'm douchebaggery, and today we're going to be taking a look at the Figuarts Full Power Freeza. Or as most would call him, Full Power Freeza. Anyways, to get all of Freeza's release information out of the way, I believe he was announced in February of 2024 at a retail price of $85 and was of course a premium Bandai exclusive. God forbid they release the one character you're supposed to pair legendary Super Saiyan Goku up with as a standard release. I think that's all there is to say about Freeza's release information, so let's take a look at his box. Freeza's box is exactly what you expect out of a Figuarts figure these days. Get a picture of him on the front. Ominous foreshadowing with this particular head sculpt. Tamashii Nation's quality logo, all the usual shit at the bottom. Bandai Collector's Shop, designed by Tamashii Nations in Japan, Bandai Spirits made in Vietnam. His name on the front and side windows, as well as his name on the cardboard. Figuarts Full Power Freeza, and a picture of his face on the bottom. His face and his face on the side, as well as his face and the window on the top. And on the back you have some product shots of him and some blurbs that if you want to go ahead and read them, you can go ahead and do so, because I'm not going to do it for you. And last little thing on the back of his box, because everybody gives a shit about this, you have the Bandai Namco distribution sticker. Riveting addition to this here box. So now that all that's out of the way, let's get Freeza out of his box. So here Freeza is out of the box, and if he looks like a pain in the ass to stand, that's because he is. His swole upper body and his throbbing nub of a tail don't exactly make him easy to stand up. But I think we're getting a bit ahead of ourselves here. If you've seen any of these other shit shows that I've made, or hell, even the one that's come directly before this one, you already know what time it is. So let's not dick around any longer and move into Freeza's comparisons. Here Freeza is with two of the best figures from 2023. His companion piece, the legendary Super Saiyan Goku on the left, and oh my god guys, it's the original Goku Black, for real, on God's Scary. His final form counterpart to the left of him, standing on the rock and minced meat, the most fabulous being in all of the universe, and a shining example of Tamashii Nation's quality in Zarbon, and figure of the year 2024, Kiwi. And lastly, here he is getting dwarfed by two shining examples of what happens when Tamashii Nations actually gives a flying fuck about the figure they're making. So now that we've got that out of our system, let's move on. The aesthetics on Freeza are absolutely one of his strong points, because Tamashii held absolutely nothing back with the sculpt on this guy. He's just as cartoonishly bulky as he was in the show, with giant shoulders that are, if I'm being honest, they look like they're bigger than his head. I'm not entirely sure. Yeah, they're about the same size as his head. He's got cartoonishly big shoulders that are about the same size as his head. Tons of scratches all throughout, unfortunately, as is the case for just about every battle-damaged character Tamashii puts out. None of them are painted, so that's irritating, and it's only compounded by the fact that he has a blue wash all throughout, and the blue wash is really nice. I like how the blue wash looks. It's nice and subtle. It's not too overblown, and it is applied all throughout the figure, so it does look very nice, and it helps to really elevate the musculature of this figure. And he's got his throbbing thick half pint coming out of his ass. You can see all kinds of detail in Frieza's severed tail. You got the marks from where it was singed off by the Genki Dama, or the Spirit Bomb. The purples on this guy are really nice. They're a nice, reflective, glossy purple. Kind of hoping that if Tamashii are going to continue doing the Namek Saga, that they do come back around to Final Form Freeza again, and just give us a version of him to match with the other forms. One major negative with the purples that is a constant with every single Freeza that Tamashii have put out is the fact that it is very prone to rubbing. You can actually see a little bit of it rubbing off on mine's abs. It's particularly bad on his hand here. You can see where there's just a lot of purple bleeding onto his wrist. So for your own sake, be very, very wary when posing this guy to avoid any sort of paint transfer or rubbing. But overall, yeah, this guy looks absolutely phenomenal. Nothing else to say there. And Freeza's accessories are a double-edged sword. What do I mean by this? Well, as you can see, you have a pretty solid spread of accessories. You get 3 faces, a gritted teeth face looking forward, one where he's looking down. You could use it as him being shocked or more frustrated than usual, and then looking to his right, yelling face. Faces all look nice, nothing else to say there. And then you do get 4 additional pairs of hands. Chopping, blasting, grabbing, and another pair of blasting hands, which are intended for his death saucers. And I guess as an added bonus, you can remove the pegs in them that attach to his hands. You also do get a pair of clawing or flying feet. I haven't been able to swap the feet out on mine, but I don't really care because I usually don't use those feet for Freeza. And then you do get a DLC face for legendary Super Saiyan Goku, where he's being punched in the face. It's kind of irritating that it's being sold with Freeza, but it's really more of a bonus in this instance, so I'll let it slide. Now then, what did I mean by his accessories being a double-edged sword? I'd take a drill bit to all of his hands, because none of them would swap on without excessive force. It honestly felt like I would snap the wrist peg off before getting the hands out. And then his faces. His faces are relatively infamous for how difficult they are to swap out. Namely that they tend to get stuck on his neck very, very easily. And in particular, the looking down gritted teeth face on mine got stuck for a couple of weeks. I just sort of let him lie around in that time, and eventually I was able to pry it off with enough force, where I then promptly took a drill bit to all of Frieza's heads to ensure that nothing like that would ever happen again. And unfortunately, that issue is only made worse by an issue that we'll get into with the articulation. Speaking of which, quickly run through Frieza's articulation. His head is on a barbell joint and his neck's on a ball peg. Head can look up only really that far because the neck will just spring back into place like that. Can tilt side to side and go down, no problem. Can look left and right, no problem. And unfortunately, his neck is very easy to just pop off and pop back on, so it does make switching the heads really, really annoying. Full 360 out of its shoulder, go up about as far as you'd expect with all the bulk across his chest, about that far. A really tight bicep swivel, double joint at the elbow, wrist pivot and swivel. Once again, be careful with the purple. His torso can lean that far forward, that far back, side to side, and you do get a little bit of rotation out of the lower waist. It is tight. His hips can move that far forward. He can kick out to the side about this far, but as you just saw, it can press in on his waist. And these little bastards love popping out. So unless you really want to fix Frieza's dick, I would only advise kicking his legs out about that far. It's still enough to get your range, but not as much as you can get. Really tight thigh swivel, double joint at the knee, and an ankle that goes that far down, that far up, that far in, and that far out. So par for the course for Frieza ankles, so they're not as good as legendary Goku, but nowhere near as bad as your average Vegeta. With everything said and done, let's wrap this one up. So overall, I personally really like Freeza despite his issues. That said, he is absolutely not the 10 out of 10 figure that a lot of people tend to hype him up to be. The neck comes off way too easy and it makes swapping his heads a pain in the ass. As I said before, I had to drill not just his heads but his hands as well, because none of them would swap on without excessive force fresh out of the box. Really, the only issues that I have past that are a couple of engineering problems. Like I said, his crotch nuggets like to fall out really easily, and as shown before, while there are plenty of scratches detailed throughout them, none of them are painted, so that is definitely annoying when Tamashii have clearly gone through the effort to shade him. But if you can overlook those issues, this guy will make for a really great companion to legendary Super Saiyan Goku, and it is really, really fun to pose these two fighting each other. So all in all, I absolutely would recommend picking this figure up if you can find him for a reasonable price. Just don't go into him expecting the best Freeza you'll ever hold. But to be honest, the 2013 still holds that title for me. Now that my execution date has been scheduled, this has been Dipper Games 420, and I'll see you guys next time.